You open a menu, and the pasta that looked expensive a moment ago suddenly looks reasonable, because your eye has just landed on the dish priced twice as high beside it. You did not decide the pasta was a fair price. You were guided to that conclusion before you finished reading the page. Before we go any further, this video is for educational purposes only. It explores documented research on how people make choices. It is not financial advice. Always consult a qualified professional for your specific situation. Here is the start. Whether they are subscriptions, cars, bottles of wine, or plates of food, you rarely measure each one against a fixed sense of what it is worth. You measure them against each other. For most everyday decisions, value is not a fixed number you carry in your head. It is a comparison you make in the moment. And a comparison can be moved. Think about a coffee shop that offers a small and a large. Plenty of people take the small. Add a medium that costs almost as much as the large, and suddenly the large looks like the smart buy. Nothing about the large changed. What changed is what stands next to it. This is the lever that the rest of this video is about. It has a name, it has decades of controlled experiments behind it, and it explains why the menu, the pricing page, and the product shelf are arranged the way they are. Start in 1982. Three researchers, Joel Huber, John Payne, and Christopher Puto, published a paper in the Journal of Consumer Research with a heavy title, Adding Asymmetrically Dominated Alternatives, Violations of Regularity and the Similarity Hypothesis. The title is technical. The idea beneath it is simple. Picture two options. One is cheaper but more basic. The other is better but more expensive. Sensible people split between them, because there is a genuine trade-off and no single right answer. Now introduce a third option that is clearly worse than one of the first two, but not worse than the other. In the language of the paper, that third option is asymmetrically dominated. It loses to one item on every count, while the other item does not. Nobody is meant to choose it. It exists to lose. Here is what Huber, Payne, and Puto found. Adding that third option, the one nobody chooses, raises the probability that people pick the item that clearly beats it. The decoy does not win anything for itself. It hands the win to its neighbor. Why does that matter? Because it breaks a rule that older models of choice treated as obvious. The rule is called regularity. Regularity says that adding a new option to a set cannot increase the share of an option already in it. Offer people more, and each existing choice should either hold steady or lose a little ground. It should never gain. The asymmetric dominance effect violates that rule head-on, which is why the paper's title calls it a violation of regularity. The right decoy does not divide attention. It concentrates it on the target. The authors did not treat this as a small curiosity. The effect, they wrote, points to the inadequacy of many current choice models, and it hints at ways of arranging a set of options that a purely rational picture of the shopper would never predict. Now watch the mechanism work on real money. The cleanest demonstration comes from the behavioral economist Dan Ariely, who wrote about it in his book Predictably Irrational. He had come across a subscription offer from the Economist magazine, and it listed three options. A web-only subscription for $59. A print-only subscription for $125. And a print and web subscription, also for $125. Print alone costs $125. Print and web together also cost $125. For the same money, one option gives you strictly less. No careful person would take print alone when print plus web sits right there at the same price. That middle option is a textbook decoy. It is asymmetrically dominated by the bundle beside it. Ariely tested the three options on 100 students. With all three on the page, 16% chose the web-only subscription. Exactly as you would predict, because nobody takes strictly less for the same price. And 84% chose the print and web bundle. Then he took the decoy away. He offered a fresh group just two options, web only at $59 and the bundle at $125. The picture flipped. Now 68% chose the cheaper web-only option, and only 32% chose the bundle. Hold those two results side by side. With the useless middle option present, 84% chose the expensive bundle. With it removed, 32% did. An option that not one single person selected more than doubled the share of people who paid the higher price. It never won a customer. It rearranged everyone else. This is the decoy effect stepping out of the laboratory and into a real catalog, priced in real dollars, aimed at real subscribers. Asymmetric dominance is one version of this. There is a close relative that may be even more common on the menus and pricing pages you meet every day. In 1989, Itamar Simonson published a study, again in the Journal of Consumer Research, titled Choice Based on Reasons, The Case of Attraction and Compromise Effects. Simonson showed that a brand tends to gain share when it becomes the compromise alternative in a set. When an option sits in the middle, with something cheaper below it and something pricier above it, people drift toward the middle. Notice the two ideas in the title of that paper, attraction and compromise. The attraction effect is the decoy pulling you toward its stronger neighbor. The compromise effect. A well-built menu leans on both at once. Simonson found something precise about why. The pull toward the compromise was stronger among people who expected to justify their decisions to others. The middle is the easiest choice to defend. It is not the reckless expensive one, and it is not the cheap one you might be judged for. When you sense that someone could ask why you chose what you chose, the compromise becomes the answer that needs the least explanation. Now you can see why so many menus and plans arrive in threes. 3 sizes, 3 tiers, 3 price points. The most expensive option is often not there to be the best seller. It is there so the option just beneath it becomes the reasonable middle. The cheapest option is often not there to be chosen either. It is there to be the floor, so the middle has something to stand above. The choice you feel good about is frequently the choice the structure was built to produce. Which brings us back to the menu in your hands. A menu looks like a list. It is not a list. It is a designed environment, and that design has been studied carefully. In 2009, researchers at Cornell University's Center for Hospitality Research, Sybil Young, Cheryl Kimes, and Mauro Cesarigo, published a study with a plain title, $sign or dollars, Effects of Menu Price Formats on Restaurant Checks. They compared how much guests spent depending on how the prices were printed. Same dishes, same amounts, only the formatting changed. One version used a $sign. One used the bare number. One spelled the price out in words. The finding was that guests spent more, on average, when menu prices were presented without $signs or the word dollars. Just the number, with no currency symbol attached. Removing the small visual reminder that this is money was enough to nudge spending upward. It is a small, concrete proof of a large idea. If a single currency symbol can move a check total, then the entire surface of a menu is a place where design quietly meets spending. Set that beside everything we have covered. The number on the menu is placed. The expensive anchor at the top of a section is placed. Even the way the price is typed is placed. None of this needs a villain or a conspiracy. It needs only what the research has documented for 40 years. Human choice is relative, and relative choices can be steered by arranging what sits nearby. A word on what this does and does not mean. It does not mean every menu is a trap, or that every 3-tier plan is built to fleece you. Many simply offer a real range for real, different needs. The asymmetric dominance effect and the compromise effect are tendencies measured across many people, not switches that seize control of any one person's judgment. You can notice the expensive anchor and still order exactly what you actually wanted. What the research gives you is not suspicion. It is a frame. When an option feels like the obvious, reasonable one, it is worth asking a quiet question. Reasonable compared to what? Is this the sensible middle because of what it offers, or because of what was said on either side of it? Here is the deeper point. We like to believe our preferences come from inside us, that we know what we value and we choose accordingly. The decoy effect is unsettling because it shows how much of a choice can be assembled from the options placed around it. The subscription nobody bought still shaped what everybody bought. The dish nobody orders still shaped the meal. The menu is not really asking what you want. It is offering you a set of comparisons and letting the comparisons do the deciding. Once you have seen that, you cannot fully unsee it. The next the road choice, you will at least know to ask who built the road. So here is a question worth leaving in the comments. Think of the last time you picked the middle option. The medium, the standard tier, the second cheapest bottle on the list. Looking back, do you believe you chose it, or do you think it was positioned for you to choose? I would genuinely like to read what you come up with. And in the next episode, we turn from the choice itself to the moment right after it. Why buying something new gives you a lift. Trade is the most profitable part of the entire transaction. That is the dopamine loop, and it is where we go next.